my name is Reedah. I'm the founder of Brainsparks Games, and we are building an eduverse of culturally inclusive 3D open world educational games aligned with the UK national curriculum. So it's kind of EdTech meets the gaming world.
Brilliant. And what is it about developing for mobile which makes it ideal for the aims of Brainspark?
So we did a lot of research, a lot of market research into what would be the best platform to kind of release on, and overwhelmingly mobile was considered much more favourable by children and parents. And one of the key things that's really important to us is that the games are free for children, and so there should be no barrier to learning. So we just felt that there were a much higher likelihood of there being a mobile smart device in the home than certain other kind of platforms like Xbox or Nintendo Switch. And so we just felt that it was the strongest platform to access the widest range of users, both in the UK and globally.
Yeah, so it is all about that accessibility. The more like mobile and tablets is a lot more reliable to be having around like a home environment.
Yeah, completely.
Brilliant. And so what challenges have you kind of faced? I mean, first of all, for those who don't know, you don't come from a games background. So no. How was it coming into sort of like game development and sort of getting to know how to do things, find investment, that kind of thing?
I think I want to be really open and honest and transparent here that I've inadvertently fallen into this position. I'm a mother of three. This all started because I couldn't get my sons off Fortnite. We literally used to hide the controllers in our safe rather than jewels or anything like that. And it was a certain period when I was tutoring my son at home for his exams, and he would go off to have his break. He'd play a bit of Fortnite, and it just occurred to me that why are we kind of forcing kids to learn through this really antiquated education system when over 2 billion children globally are on mobile games? And I just assumed there'd be somebody out there that would be offering the entire national curriculum through 3D open world games. I did about 5 months of research. I couldn't find anything. I'm a completely non-technical founder. My background is that I'm a qualified barrister, lawyer. I've been a management consultant, and I've been a portfolio manager. So I wasn't looking to start an edtech or a gaming studio, but I just felt so frustrated. And the more people I spoke to, there were like hundreds of parents that were saying this would be such a solution for all of us, because every child, whether they realize it or not, it's in some shape or form on games. And that's how I came up with the idea. And I found the idea of kind of developing a game studio really overwhelming. I didn't have a technical background or anything. So I went on a few accelerators and I developed the concept pre-tech. So there was quite a few stages before we got to the technical stage, like developing the curriculum content, the art style, mapping out how it would work, the UX kind of UI elements, like what is the user journey. We did quite a lot of market research with children, parents and teachers. So only when we got to the stage that we had some content, we had everything ready, did I then recruit 2 developers, and one of them is still with me full time now. So we started freelance and then went sort of full time. And I gave up a very, very well paid job in the Middle East almost a year and a half ago. So I was funding it through my own kind of savings. And I just had a very iterative, agile approach that we'd have one very small milestone, reach that milestone, see what we thought, was it strong enough to continue, and then kind of continued from there. So it evolved in a really organic kind of way.
Brilliant. And what's been the reaction? Do children treat it like a game? I mean, obviously it is a game, but obviously do they question?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when we did the research, there was a very clear divide. So we did the research a good 3.5 years ago. There was a divide between, serious games are really awesome and incredible, and then you've got educational games that they play at school, which are considered quite dull and boring, because they're only a tiny bit further developed than like traditional textbooks or a comprehension exercise. So at that time, the kind of edtech world and the gaming world hadn't kind of collided. There wasn't the kind of interest and the overlap that you have now with Roblox and Minecraft developing educational content, mainly coding based. So what we were doing was quite pioneering at that time, and we developed our own kind of visual design language. That was quite a big challenge. But what we found now is that we are positioning this not as an alternative to serious gaming, but rather as an alternative to homework and revision. So it takes the pain away from parents, it takes the pain away from teachers, and primarily from children. So if they're given the option to play a game or learn, you know, over 12 weeks in one term about the Tudors, or for example, they much prefer playing our game. And we've done play testing with well over 1,800 children, parents, and teachers. So we've been play testing for a long time and kind of taking on user feedback, iterating, developing, modifying. And so now we're developing a climate game, English Midsummer Night's Dream, a maths game, an art game, and the history game. So we're developing quite a few other elements to what we're doing.
What would you say is the main challenges with an education game compared to, say, going out and making what you might class as a game for?
I think it's mainly like the content, like how does this quite dull, dry content translate into really fun gameplay element for a child, but where you don't lose the kind of a learning element of what needs to be, the knowledge that needs to be acquired and retained and applied in the real world. And I think it's been great to kind of combine like education and educators with the gaming world. So we've got really mixed complementary teams. So, you know, it takes a bit of time to kind of, for everyone to kind of get their head around things. But we seem to have found that magical formula.
Brilliant. And finally, were you hoping to take Brainspark in the future? Is it more education games taking on different contexts, different cultures?
So I think ultimately the ambition is so we want to build out the entire British curriculum, every subject that a child from 7 to 13 would be covering at school. We've already started experimenting with GCSE games, so that's to kind of cover GCSEs here, but anyone that's doing GCSEs abroad. And then ultimately, we have been approached by a few universities to develop some undergraduate courses through our gaming pedagogy. And ultimately, our vision is to kind of develop a best-of-breed global curriculum that any child can learn from any aspect of great curricula in any corner of the world.